I watched every match Cristiano Ronaldo ever played at a World Cup. 22 of them, 5 tournaments, 16 years. I expected a highlight reel of one of the greatest players alive. What I found was one of the cruelest stories in the history of the sport. Because here's a man who scored at 5 different World Cups, a record no other man has ever touched. 8 goals, and not one of them in the knockout rounds. 5 attempts at the only trophy he never lifted. The universe, it turned out, was paying very close attention. Let's go back to the beginning. Germany, 2006. Ronaldo is 21 years old. He wears the number 17, not yet the iconic 7. He isn't the captain. That job belongs to Luis Figo, the elder statesman, the last of an older Portugal. Ronaldo is the kid, the prodigy, the boy with the stepovers and the gelled hair who everyone agrees is going to be special. Eventually, probably, if he stops trying to beat the same defender 11 times in a row. He makes his World Cup debut against Angola. He picks up a yellow card in the 26th minute, gets pulled off after an hour, and the tournament moves on without much fuss. For a while, this is just a young man finding his feet on the biggest stage there is. He scores his first World Cup goal in the group stage, a penalty against Iran, calm as you like. But penalties aren't where reputations are forged. The thing that defined his entire relationship with England and with this competition was still coming. And then comes the quarter-final. England, Portugal, Gelsenkirchen. This is the match that built the villain. 62nd minute, Wayne Rooney, Ronaldo's own teammate at Manchester United, stamps on Ricardo Carvalho. The Portuguese players swarm the referee, and there's Ronaldo, right in the middle of it, making very sure the Argentine official understands exactly what just happened. Rooney gets the red card. Rooney shoves Ronaldo on the way off, because Rooney is not an idiot and can see precisely what his clubmate just did to him. And then Ronaldo turns to the Portugal bench, and he winks. That wink. One small twitch of one eyelid, and an entire nation decided it hated him. The English tabloids crowned him public enemy number 1 before the match was even over. Alan Shearer went on the BBC and suggested that Rooney might want to go back to the United training ground and put one on him. Think about how strange that is. He hadn't scored. He hadn't done anything against England with the ball. His great crime at this World Cup, the thing that made him the most hated man in English football for years, was an expression. He'd weaponized a facial muscle, and it worked better than any goal could have. The game goes to penalties, and the Cosmos, which has a flair for the theatrical, arranges it so that the deciding kick falls to exactly one person. The 21-year-old who just got his own teammate sent off. The boy with the wink. He scores. Portugal go through. England go home. Here's the part nobody saw coming. Rooney, the man with every right to hold a grudge for the rest of his life, walked into the tunnel, found Ronaldo, and told him good luck for the semi-final. He'd later say he'd have done exactly the same thing in his position. The villain of the story and his victim shaking hands while a whole country screamed for blood. Portugal lost that semi-final to France. Zidane scored the only goal from the spot. The wink had bought Ronaldo a trip to the last 4 and absolutely nothing else. But the legend was born, and the universe had taken its first note.
Huge thanks to our sponsor, OK Jersey. If you're looking to add high-quality kits to your collection, from the latest 2026 season to iconic retros, they've got you covered starting at just £15. Please use my promo code MAUS to get an 8% discount.
4 years later, everything has changed except the ending. South Africa, 2010. Ronaldo arrives a different creature entirely. He has the number 7 now. He has the captain's armband. He has a Ballon d'Or in the cabinet and the most expensive transfer in history on his record, having just moved to Real Madrid for a fee that made grown accountants weep. He is no longer the kid. He is the king, and the king does almost nothing. Portugal grinds through a group that produces some of the most tedious football the tournament has to offer. They draw with Ivory Coast 0-0. They drew with Brazil 0-0. 90 minutes of 2 of the most talented squads on earth deciding, mutually, that nobody really fancied attacking today. And sandwiched in the middle is the one match where the dam breaks, a 7-0 demolition of North Korea, in which Portugal scores so many goals it stops being a game and starts being a public service announcement. Ronaldo gets one of them, his first World Cup goal in open play, 4 years after the last one. It goes in off his face, essentially, a deflection he barely had to be present for. He looks almost embarrassed celebrating it. After 4 years of waiting, the football gods handed him a goal he scored with his nose. Then comes the round of 16. Spain, the eventual champions, mid-tiki-taka golden age, passing teams into a coma. Portugal lost 1-0. David Villa scores. Ronaldo, double and triple marked all night, spends 90 minutes being smothered by the best team on the planet and trudges off having barely had a sniff. There's footage of him at the final whistle, hands on hips, staring at nothing. The best player in Europe, reduced to a spectator at the exact moment it counted. One goal, one tournament, one more early exit. He was the best-known footballer alive, and he'd just been a passenger at his own World Cup. The universe wasn't being cruel yet, it was just warming up. If 2010 was a disappointment, 2014 was a comedy written by someone with a grudge. Brazil. Ronaldo shows up as the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, the best player in the world by acclamation, and a man whose left knee is quietly falling apart. He has tendinitis and a muscle problem he's been carrying for months. Everyone in Portugal pretends this is fine. It is not fine. The first match is against Germany, and Germany, who would go on to win the whole thing, treats Portugal the way a cat treats a slower mouse. 4-0. Ronaldo barely moves. Portugal's defender Pepe gets himself sent off for headbutting Thomas Muller in a moment of such spectacular self-sabotage it deserves its own documentary. The captain watches his tournament begin in ruins after a single game. Then comes the United States, and the most famous thing Ronaldo did all tournament was something he didn't even finish. Deep into stoppage time, Portugal trailing the chance to be eliminated, he whips in a cross of absurd quality onto the head of Silvestre Varela. 2-2. Portugal survives, barely. It's the only assist he manages all tournament, and it keeps them alive on life support. The last group match, against Ghana, he finally scores. A real one, this time, slotted in with the old precision, and in a small, bitter joke, it's a goal that means nothing. Portugal needed to win by a huge margin and hope other results fell their way. They win the match and still go out on goal difference, agonizingly, by the narrowest possible margin you can imagine. He scored, and it didn't matter. He did everything his ruined body would allow, and the maths laughed at him anyway. The goal went into the record books, and Portugal went into their bags. 3 matches, 1 goal, 1 assist, home before the knockouts again, this time before he'd even properly arrived. He flew home to recover from surgery he'd been delaying to play. He'd dragged a broken knee across Brazil for the privilege of a goal that changed nothing. And somewhere, the universe was sharpening its pencil for the cruelest trick of all, the good one, the one that would finally let him believe.
Speaking of those kits I mentioned earlier, OK Jersey isn't just about low prices, they're the gold standard. They have a 4.5 Trustpilot rating and everything from 90s legends to the 2026 World Cup lineup in stock. Use my code MOUSE right now to get 8% off your entire order.
This is the chapter where it all comes together. This is the night the whole story almost made sense. If you only ever watch one Ronaldo World Cup performance, watch this one because it contains everything. The brilliance, the ego, the defiance, and the cruelty of a sport that lets you do all that and still go home with nothing. Russia, 2018, Sochi, the Fished Stadium, Portugal's opening match, and of all the teams in all the world, the fixture computer has handed them Spain, the neighbours, the old enemy, the team that smothered him to death in 2010. Ronaldo is 33 now. By footballer standards, he should be slowing down, managing his minutes, picking his moments. Instead, he produces the single greatest individual performance of his entire international career, and he does it against the one team that ever made him look ordinary. 4th minute, he draws a foul, steps up, and buries the penalty. 1-0. And he rubs his chin, the goat gesture, a little message aimed squarely at a certain Adidas advert that had recently posed Lionel Messi next to an actual goat. Subtlety was never the point. Spain hit back. Diego Costa equalizes, all elbows and menace. But just before half-time, Ronaldo gets his second, a tame shot that David De Gea, the best goalkeeper in the world, somehow lets squirm through his hands and over the line. 2-1. De Gea has nightmares about it to this day. Then Spain remembered their Spain. Costa scores again. Nacho hits a volley so clean it should be hung in a gallery. 3-2 Spain, and the clock is running down, and Portugal's grand opening night is curdling into yet another anticlimax for their captain. This was supposed to be the redemption arc against the team that humiliated him in 2010, and instead it was turning into the same old story. Brilliant Ronaldo, beaten Portugal, an early flight home, loading on the horizon. 88th minute, Ronaldo wins a free kick on the edge of the box, 20 yards out. The whole world knows what he wants to do, and the whole world knows he hasn't actually scored a direct free kick at a major tournament in something like 44 previous attempts. 44. The numbers said no. The body of evidence said no. Every pundit watching had quietly written off the Ronaldo free kick as a beautiful habit that no longer produced results. He stands over it, hands on hips, chest out, and he curls it up and over the wall and down into the top corner, leaving De Gea frozen like a man who's just remembered he left the oven on. 3-3. Hat-trick. At 33 years old, he began joining names like Pele and Close. For one night, the story you wanted was the story you got. The aging king, dragged into one last duel with his oldest rival, refusing to lose. He'd later add another goal against Morocco, a header to win it 1-0, and a missed penalty against Iran that nearly cost them everything. He was leading the tournament's scoring charts. He was 33 years old and outrunning men a decade younger. He looked, for the first time in his World Cup life, like a man who might actually do this. And then, Uruguay knocked Portugal out in the round of 16. 2-1. Edinson Cavani, twice. Ronaldo, blanked. The knockout rounds, that one stage where he had never scored and would never score, swallowed him whole again. He walked off in Sochi the way he'd walked off everywhere else, brilliant in the group stage and gone before it mattered. That free kick was the universe's masterstroke, because you can't break a man's heart unless you first convince him he's about to win. It needed him to believe. So, it gave him a perfect night against Spain. Let him taste it. Let him think the ending might finally bend his way. And then, it filed the memory away for later.
That's it for today. One last reminder to check out OK Jersey via the link below. With fast shipping and premium quality for just £15, it's the best way to grow your collection without overpaying. Go grab your piece of football history now.
Which brings us to the end, and the universe had saved its best for last. Qatar 2022. Ronaldo is 37. This is it, the final attempt. Everyone knows it, including him. His club career is detonating in real time. Days into the tournament, the news breaks that Manchester United have torn up his contract after an interview in which he set fire to every bridge he had left. He arrives in Qatar, a man with no club and one last shot at the only thing missing. It starts perfectly. The opening match against Ghana. He wins a penalty and converts it. And with that one kick, he does something no man had ever done. He scores at a 5th World Cup. 5 tournaments, 16 years apart, the same man finding the net. At 37, he becomes one of the oldest scorers the competition has ever seen. He stands in front of the Qatar crowd doing the celebration, the jump, the spin, the sew, and for a moment it looks like the fairy tale might actually get written. It would be his last World Cup goal. He just didn't know it yet, because then his own coach did the unthinkable. After a flat performance, Fernando Santos dropped him, benched. For the round of 16 against Switzerland, the most famous footballer on earth started on the substitutes bench for the first time in a major tournament knockout in 14 years. And here's the part that twists the knife. Portugal didn't just cope without him. They won 6-1. His replacement, a 21-year-old named Goncalo Ramos, scored a hat-trick. The team played some of the best football of the tournament, and they did it with their legend watching from the side. The message was unmistakable, and it was brutal. The story had quietly stopped being about him. For 16 years, Portugal had been Ronaldo's team, built around him, bent toward him, and now, at the most important moment, they were better without him on the pitch. That's a hard thing for any player to swallow. For a man who had organised his entire existence around being the main character, it must have been close to unbearable. The quarter-final, Morocco. Santos benches him again. Portugal got a goal down before half-time, a header from Youssef En-Nesyri, and finally, with the dream slipping away, Ronaldo comes on. 51st minute. The whole stadium knowing the script that was supposed to be written. The legend rises off the bench, drags his country back, writes the ending himself. He touched the ball 10 times. He had one shot. The Moroccan keeper caught it without much trouble. That was it. Morocco held on, 1-0. They became the first African nation ever to reach a World Cup semi-final, a genuinely beautiful piece of history, and they made it standing on the grave of Cristiano Ronaldo's last dream. The final whistle blew, and the cameras found him. He didn't wait for his teammates. He didn't go and shake the hands of the Moroccans who just made history. He turned, and he walked straight down the tunnel, and he was already crying before he reached the shadows. A few Moroccan players tried to console him. A member of staff walked beside him, half guiding, half protecting. There were no Portugal teammates near him. They were out on the pitch, thanking the fans, doing the dignified thing. He walked alone, and he walked fast, like a man who couldn't stand to be looked at for one more second. Some people watched that and saw a sore loser, a man too wrapped up in himself to congratulate the team that beat him. Maybe, but there was something else in it too. This was a 37-year-old who had given his entire adult life to one goal, watching the door close on it in real time on a stage where the whole planet was looking. Whatever you think of him, those were not fake tears. 16 years earlier, a 21-year-old had winked on a World Cup pitch and made an entire country despise him for being too cocky, too cold, too sure of himself. And here was the same man, 37 now, walking off a World Cup pitch for the final time with tears streaming down his face, completely undone. The boy who couldn't stop smiling and the man who couldn't stop crying. Same person, same competition, 16 years apart. The universe, it seemed, had been keeping the receipt the whole time. So here's what I discovered after 22 matches and 5 tournaments in 16 years. Cristiano Ronaldo is, by almost every measure, one of the greatest goal scorers the game has ever produced. He scored at 5 World Cups, which no man before him ever did. He won a European Championship, a Nations League, leagues and Champions Leagues in 3 countries. He has done nearly everything football has to offer. And the World Cup, the one he wanted most, gave him exactly 2 things: a villain's reputation he never quite shook, and, 16 years later, a tunnel to cry in. That's the part the highlight reels leave out. The beautiful moments were real. The free kick against Spain, the wink against England, the cross against the Americans, the penalty that made history against Ghana, they all happened. They were genuinely magnificent. And every single one of them was a step on the way to the same locked door. 5 tries, 16 years. The youngest version of him got a villain's reputation. The oldest version got a tunnel to cry in. And in between, scattered across 5 tournaments, were these flashes of something close to perfect that never once added up to the thing he actually wanted. Maybe that's the most human thing about him. Not the muscles or the records or the ego. The fact that the thing he chased hardest is the one thing he never caught. The best goal scorer of his generation, and the World Cup looked at all of it and said no. If you enjoyed this one, there's a full breakdown of Lionel Messi's exact opposite World Cup story sitting right there on the channel. The man who got the ending Ronaldo was denied. Go watch it, and then come tell me which fate you'd actually choose. I'll see you in the next one.